So Becca and Shannon are a couple who have kind of recently got together. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they get together or announce their relationship like 6 months ago, right? That's what the text says. Actually, wait, hold on. I don't even have to guess. Announced breakup after 6 months of making their relationship public. So their relationship went public 6 months ago and now they're breaking up. And here's a little snippet of, quote, why they broke up. The internet has had quite a reaction to it. I want to add my voice to that reaction and I have a much larger conversation around it. So this is Becca and Shannon. Let's see what they have to say about their breakup.
We are going through a breakup.
I am having like the hardest time imagining my future children with a like that are biologically half of a random man, even though it doesn't have there are options and I know it doesn't have to be a random man, but like I wouldn't feel comfortable with any of my like
I think you're having a hard time
with the sperm donor of
the
it all,
thought of kids with making them
that aren't half of me and half the person I love. And this has been like something in the back of my mind ever since we became more serious and I could see it more. That is like, it's like a tragedy. Like it feels like it's not fair.
It is.
And I'm sure that like I know if I had a baby I would like love it no matter what, but like right now that thought is like overwhelming. And so when I called my mom, I think the reason I got so upset and I told her like maybe this might be a reason why it ends, she's like, didn't you think of that when you first got into a relationship? And I was like, no, honestly I wasn't thinking that. Like I wasn't really thinking that. Also, you're 32 and I know you don't want kids in the next. You're not at all. She's not even like bringing up kids at all. It's my own thing where I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be. If I right now I don't think I can get there with like the kid thing, then I can't morally quote unquote waste this girl's time, even though I want to.
So that's Becca and that's Shannon. Becca's the blonde one, if I'm not mistaken, and Shannon is the black-haired one or brown-haired one, right? Okay, so Chet says, are they breaking up because one wants a kid and the other doesn't? No. They're breaking up because Becca, the blonde one, had the realization that when they were ready to have kids, she wouldn't be able to cope with the fact that the child wouldn't be 50% hers and her partner's. And so what this conversation ended up creating was a backlash from the internet who was pretty upset over adoption perspectives, sperm donor, all these other perspectives that came in. And I think the internet has a right to feel a little bit upset that she is basically discounting the validation or validity rather of adoptees, of non-blood related children and adults, of relationships and families that can come together without that blood connection. But I want to add just another voice to the conversation that I think is really important here. The reason 400,000 kids are in foster care, other than the fact that adoption is a for-profit organized or a for-profit business, and the fact that a lot of kids are in foster care because their parents simply can't care for them, not because they don't want them, is because people actually don't want to adopt people that aren't related to them. People have a very hard time. Humans as an animal species seem to have evolved to actually have a hard time adopting children. And I want to talk about that because I, as growing up, never personally thought much of it, right? But we have to take into consideration, and it was so funny because I was talking to my partner about this. I was like, yeah, I think people have a really hard time seeing adopted children as their own. I mean, people have intimacy with their stepchildren. And he was like, stepchildren, they have intimacy with their own kids. I was like, oh, damn, you're right. People are an animal species. Like they are going to be intimate with anyone they want to be intimate with, whether it's inappropriate or not. Right. And I'm trying to use kind of PG language here so I don't get demonetized on every single video I put out. Okay. So please like the stream. So regardless of whether or not that child is blood related to you, humans have an opportunity to be disgusting regardless. But I actually think separate from the most disgusting version of humanity, there is a reality around people's biological experience in relation to adopting people that aren't related to them. Well, I've met adults that don't even want to adopt their own blood and family, nieces, nephews, cousins. They don't want that responsibility. They're not their children. So I don't have that shared perspective. I'm kind of a believer that I could adopt every child and I would feel like a mom, right? I'm a very big fan of loving the world's children. Like I think children, I think that the world was truly better, there'd be no such thing as a child who didn't have a home or parents who could not pay for them, right? But we live in a different reality. I knew a couple who the man was really honest and forthcoming, and I thought this was actually really beautiful, even if it was a little bit of a hurt feelings. The husband said that if they had adopted a kid and the kid wasn't incredibly grateful and ever rebelled or threw a tantrum, that they would feel like, what the F, bro? I adopted you. I gave you a home. Why are you rebelling? As if to say a child, adopted or not, isn't given an opportunity to be a regular teenager, right? The irony is there are people who think adopted children aren't going to act out like teenagers, meaning go through a moment of sort of rebellion. But this is a very important and very brave thing to say out loud because it is a real, obviously, majority experience. It obviously is the majority experience with people. A majority of people are not adopting. So if you're a person who's open to adoption, you are not part of the majority. So they even said that if their child, like if they had a biological child versus an adopted child, they might feel more connected to the biological child. Also, very important thing to say out loud, you are not meant to adopt. This narrative we push on people, which is you should be able to adopt children if you're a good person, is denying the biological experience we're having as an animal species evolved over time. So if you do not believe in evolution, if you do not believe you're an animal species, you might start to create a narrative in your head that says, oh, well, if you're a good person, you should do X, Y, Z, instead of acknowledging the biological experience we're having, even if something as controversial as saying a biological parent might not actually love their child, which might not be their fault. They might not have a choice because of their biological experience. Like, I think all children are entitled to love, but not necessarily love from their biological parent. Their biological parent might be having a biological experience that they might not be able to connect to their child. And we have to be okay with this, and we have to give that child love regardless. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, you're such a bad person. I can't believe you don't love your child. You're a horrible human. Loving someone and having the connection to loving them doesn't mean you don't do right by them. You can do right by somebody you don't love. And I think people equate those two things. People who love you hurt you all the time. And I don't think we're really being honest with that. Healing Today says, happy holidays. And thank you so much for the super chat. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Happy holidays. Happy holidays. So when we're having these conversations, I think it's really important to have it and acknowledge that everyone might feel a certain way about things, but to recognize that people are genuinely having this authentic experience. And even if they deconstructed, they would still probably struggle feeling connected to a child that didn't look like them. And I think that's really important to know before you adopt. I think it's really important to know before you have kids. I think it's really important to know as a community so we can give those kids love and support, even if their biological parents can't, or even if their adopted parents might not be well suited for this journey. Growing up homeschooling, lots of my friends were adopted. Okay. Some of my friends now are current friends I have in my life now as adults are adopted. There are a lot of negatives and there are a lot of positives, but the negatives are there. Adopting a child is not easy because it's not easy for the kid. The kiddo you're adopting is going to come with a whole unique form, like a whole unique layer of baggage, and you're going to have to be patient and kind through that process. And that includes if you make a baby who even is have you guys been down the IVF bubble? I've been in the IVF bubble on YouTube, and I realize, or not YouTube, TikTok, and I realized their IVF babies have a community. Like, they feel different than everybody else. They're like, oh, I'm an IVF baby. I'm an IVF baby. I'm like, oh, like, even being IVF baby is a different form of being a baby. Like, they have their own issues around it, which is so interesting to realize. Like, oh, interesting. Like, I thought it was just a medical procedure. It wasn't a big deal. But apparently the children are getting together and creating communities around being an IVF baby. I didn't know this. Apparently it's quite controversial in certain bubbles, right? Which I guess we should know because conservatives are trying to ruin the potential of IVF, which is kind of crazy. Since lots of conservatives are also pro IVF. It's very interesting. So when we're having these conversations, we have to be honest about it. My partner and I had this conversation during our courting process. How do we feel about adoption? Would we want to adopt? How do we feel about being rich at 60 and wanting to foster children or adopt? How do we feel about bringing children into our home? How do you feel about me caring for my nieces or nephews or siblings? And, it's a very big conversation to have. It's a very big conversation to have. And we have to really think about it in a very nuanced way because somebody's life is going to be impacted, yours and them. So I understand why people are mad at Becca. I know why people are upset with the way she phrased it. And I think she should really have a conversation about that. And I know a lot of people were like, this is why you can't trust bisexuals or pansexuals. This is why women always go back to men. This is why, this is why, this is why. I don't know her real reasoning, but I will say I'm not that surprised. And to be honest, obviously I believe in like the love of your life, even though there's multiples. Obviously these girls weren't the love of each other's life, because if they were the love of each other's life, this wouldn't be an issue. At the end of the day, when you choose a high compatibility partner, someone who is the love of your life, this issue is going to be something you talk about during a courting process or a dating process, which, by the way, they are just dating. They are not married. They are not in a committed relationship. Like, ultimately, I don't know. I'm going to assume so because they've only been out for 6 months. Like, I'm going to assume this isn't a committed relationship. This is a closed dating relationship, which is a form of commitment. But I'm assuming this isn't, this isn't like they're married or something. So, like, they're allowed to break up. I just think people need to have bigger conversations around this. Chat says adoption is better than abortion. I think that depends on your perspective. That seems so out of pocket for this channel. Like, that's so not like my bubble usually. Adoption is much more complicated than people think it is. I was watching a TikTok of one of those Christian podcasts talking about how adoption is $30,000 because they take care of the birth mother. That's not true. I don't know where she got that from, but that is not why adoption is $30,000. Adoption is $30,000 because they're making money off you, girl. They're selling children. They're selling children. So when we're having these conversations, we have to be really honest about what's happening. I think it's horrible that people around the world are so desperate to give their kids a home that they're willing to adopt them out in hopes to give their child a better life, not because they don't want them. If you want your child, we need to figure out a way for you to keep that baby. Okay? If you're not ready to bring a baby into the world, we have to figure out a way for you to have a medical procedure that's reasonable at a reasonable time during your pregnancy so that doesn't come to fruition. Lots of misinformation exists in the world about pregnancy. Something I've been seeing consistently on TikTok, which is funny, but not true, is the way Plan B works. People have been making jokes about how Plan B kills the baby. Like, oh, I'm in heaven meeting my Plan B baby. Or, oh, this comedian was on stage and talking about how many Plan Bs would it take to kill a person if it can kill a baby. Plan B doesn't kill anything, y'all. You're supposed to be having Plan B within 48 to 72 hours or 75, whatever it is, hours. It's meant to deny the possibility of implantation because the sperm takes days to travel. It's not like you get pregnant the moment you have. There is like so much misinformation around Plan B that people don't even understand. Like, you're not nothing is happening. Nothing is being terminated. Like, nothing is happening. Even my own mother, because they come from the religious bubble, will say, well, isn't your birth control causing abortions? No, my birth control is not causing abortions. And I get a period on time every month. Thank you very much. And until the Christian and Catholic communities, until the religious communities get up to date and start pushing out real information, the world will be consistently misinformed about birth control and all of these things. Like, the fact that people think Plan B terminates a fetus is just so silly. It's so silly. James says abortion is selfish and hypocritical. I'm going to hide you, James, as much as I appreciate your input on this wonderful Merry Christmas Eve. Sounds like maybe this isn't the community for you. We wish you the absolute best. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas to you and your family. I saw your icon had you and a child in it. I hope you have a great Christmas with your family and hug your baby tight, because it sounds like you really love your baby. And I love that for you. Abortion is a means of violence that often leads to less violence over time. I do think abortion is a violent choice, just like I think everything in life is. And that includes going to war. Okay. That includes killing animals. Guys, I almost went vegan this weekend. Don't even get me started. I was thinking about my harm reduction in the world, and I was like, should I go vegan? Don't hold me to that. I ate beef jerky this week. Don't hold me to that. I just made a beef jerky batch. Okay. Don't hold me to it. But I've been really contemplating my harm reduction philosophy and wondering if I should go vegan. And I'm just sharing this for you to understand that I'm not looking for perfection, because I literally just made beef jerky. Okay. I'm not looking for it. Okay. I'm not looking for perfection. But even I am like, I do believe abortion is terminating a fetus. I do believe it's terminating life. I do believe that. I do believe that. I do believe when I kill an animal, I'm participating in a form of violence. I do believe that. I just believe there are forms of violence we have to have symbiosis with. right? I just think that there are ways to have nuanced and great conversations about violence without being so eager to be violent, right? So is abortion selfish? Yes, just like having a child is selfish. There is nothing more selfish than bringing a baby into the universe. There is not, don't let them convince you otherwise. There is nothing more selfish than having a baby. Could you imagine forcing a person into existence and then thinking you're not selfish? You're so selfish bringing a person into existence who has to pay taxes. How dare you? Okay. And also, right? True. Being vegan still kills living beings. So there are cons. Yes, true. Being a vegan still like you still end up killing things. I mean, they're talking about plants having consciousness. So we're really, we're really screwed. I think what we have to do is contend with the reality that we're animals and we consume. And again, I'm not here to argue with people about how they harm reduce. I'm here to argue with myself about how I harm reduce. That's what I'm arguing with myself, is how do I feel about harm reduction? So again, I'm definitely not going vegan, girls. Maybe vegetarian. Maybe just eating less meat over time. But in general, okay, when we're having these conversations, we're really asking ourselves our own personal morals. So I understand why the internet was mad at Becca. I do. I get it. But I think sometimes they forget, like, we're animals on a planet having a biological experience. So it's good for Becca to know this about herself. So when she's on a date with somebody the next time, she can say, hey, I am not open to adoption. Is that okay? Hey, I'm not open to a sperm donor. Is that okay? Hey, I'm not open to this. Is that okay? And then to find somebody who agrees with her and is having a similar biological experience. Because to be truthful with you, I couldn't have married somebody that wasn't open to adoption. Even though we've chosen not to have biological children, I needed somebody in my life that was actually open to adoption or / taking care of my future family and friends who might need it, specifically the children in the family, obviously. So that's really the conversation, the point that I wanted to add to the conversation. Do you guys have any last minute thoughts or ideas around this? Because again, I don't want perfection. I want harm reduction. It is harm reducing for Becca to be honest about her limitations. And I know, as offensive as it sounds to other people, they have to remember the reason that adoptees have so much trauma around being adopted, or even foster kids have so much trauma around being fostered, is because it's a traumatic experience. And then some people don't even want to hear that. Have you ever heard from people that are like, you're adopted, you shouldn't even be traumatized? What do you mean? You're in foster care. At least you have families who want to take care of you. There's so much trauma to be had regardless. I mean, kids who were born into perfectly functional 2-parent homes have trauma. And then you want to add on the extra baggage of, all of the other stuff. Not everybody's ready to handle that. But she says, I'm glad the vibe of this bubble is understanding the different biological experiences in a non-judgmental way. Most bubbles aren't and reject that. Well, because they think they're better than their biology. Their egos let them think they're above their biology when they're having one of the most like monkey level relationships with their biology. The irony with these people who think they've transcended their biology is they're having one of the most lowest introspection levels with their biology. Because they're like, we have to make babies. That's what we do. We have to make babies. And then they have the audacity to think they're having like any sort of introspection with their procreation views. It is really difficult because, again, you can hold these two beliefs that having an abortion is a form of violence, and you can have the belief that you should still be able to do it. In the same way that I think adopting a child is a beautiful thing, and I think adopting a child is often a form of trafficking because it seems to be based off the data. We have to be careful with how we exist in the world because not everybody is in it for the right reasons. Healing Today, thank you so much. Gifted 5 memberships. Let's go. Congratulations to Nail, Brittany, Kalili, and Monica, and Diana for benefiting from it. Let's go. Congratulations. Whoop, whoop, members. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Chat says it's not as if Shannon didn't know that Becca was a baby gay. She knew what she was signing up for. I can't feel terribly bad for her. Now, I don't know anything about these two ladies or their bubble, actually. Is Shannon known for dating baby gays? Is that a thing? But also, I'm going to be real with you. What does baby gay mean nowadays? Like, I've known I was gay since I was a baby. So was I baby gay when I was 8? What does being a baby gay mean just in these modern times? So I know, because does that mean she didn't know she was gay until later in life? Is that what that means? Because I've been gay since I was 8. So I've been gay since I was a baby. Is baby gay means freshly knowing you're queer in this context. Okay. So she was she was older when she realized she was gay. Oh, interesting. Baby gays are people who recently came out as gay? No. Are baby gays people who recently came out or recently discovered they're gay? Because those are two different things. coming out and just cracked your gay egg. Baby gay is literally anyone who doesn't have experience with gay relationships, no matter their age. I'm getting a lot of different definitions here. I guess it's bubbles. Recently discovered they're gay, not primarily solely dated men. Depends on the person. I've seen it used both ways. Sounds like a bubble issue. Okay, so different bubbles consider different things. Okay, well, either way. Chat says, baby gay or not, heartbreak is heartbreak. You shouldn't expect to get your heart broken because they are freshly out of the closet. I don't know what that means in this context, right? Because like dating is meant to find out if you're compatible with this person. So like heartbreak is a part of dating. It's a part of growing up and matching with people, right? Let's see. Shannon, on the other hand, is a seasoned gay. Okay, interesting. I don't think this has anything to do with being a baby gay or not. I think it has to do with them not. Lots of people don't have this conversation, even heterosexuals. I don't think this is a gay thing. This is a person thing. I've met so many straight couples that never talk about infertility. They never talk about IVF. They never talk about abortion. They never talk about anything related to giving birth. If you are dating somebody, ask them about the genetic components of having a baby. Ask them about adoption. Ask them about abortion. Nothing is scarier than marrying somebody you realize is pro-life when you're pro-abortion. So make sure when you're dating, you guys are on the same page about medical care when your life is under threat because you're having, a bad pregnancy. Okay. So be very careful when you're dating people because your spouse, once they have legal medical right to you, will make that medical decision for you. Make sure you trust your spouse to make that medical decision for you. Right? Chat says, I've known I was bi since I was 15, but I've never dated a woman. Do I still count as a baby gay or no? No. I feel like baby gay has got to be like, it depends on how the bubble uses it. But girl, like you're gay, you're gay. You know what I mean? Like as a straight person, if they've never been on a date since they were like, straight people don't go on dates their whole life. What are they, a baby straight? What the are we talking about? Why are we doing this to ourselves as gay people? Can we get it together, please? Do you think straight people have this neuroses they give themselves? I'm a straight person. I've never been on a date for 20 years. Am I a baby straight? God, get your head out of your gay ass. Please, everybody get it together. Why are you doing this to yourself? You're giving yourself a complex over what? Over what? Jesus Christ. Please stop doing this to yourself. You're stressing me out. You think heterosexuals do this to themselves? That. Break that construct. What a bullshit construct you just gave yourselves, guys. We're over it. Deconstruct it. It's stupid. Okay, I'm so sorry. Happy New Year. We're over it. Queer people have a complex over proving queerness. How dumb are we? We are so stupid. I love us. We fall into our own traumatic footsteps. We let heterosexuality tell us who we are. You don't have to prove you're gay. It's an internal relationship with self, like autism. You don't gotta prove it. You don't have to prove your relationship with your inner monologue, girl. You know what you like. Nobody is out here. I don't listen to any gay people that ask me to prove my gayness. I married a woman. Isn't that enough? But also, that's gonna piss off some people right now. I don't want to hear it. I already beat the heterosexuality, bubble trying to tell me if I was gay enough. I don't need the gay people arguing with me. Shut up. You do not know my internal monologue. You do not know my internal experience. Nobody has to prove they're gay enough. And what a toxic masculinity bubble is this? Like the men that got to prove they're men enough by having a lot of bodies. Please sit down. All of us are so eager to give ourselves a complex we don't need. Homosexuals have a short lifespan. Tina, if you're a homophobic girl, you can get blocked on this Christmas Eve. Tina, you better correct yourself in my chat right now, girl. That sounds like gay slander to me, girl. So I don't know if you're homophobic. I feel like a lot of conservatives came in because of my Brett Cooper video and they don't know that this is not a safe space for you. This is not a safe space for conservatives. You feel me? I'm sorry. So you better take back what you just said or clarify. Okay, Tina, you better clarify. I have a right to my opinion. Don't be a Karen. Good luck. Merry Christmas. I wish you the best. Godspeed, girl. You know what I mean? Goodbye. These homophobes with their whole ass chest in my comment section. I swear to God, my Brett Cooper video brought in a couple of conservatives and now they want to watch. Girl, go get a job, girl. Go get a job. Because in case you don't know, you're at mine right now and my business does not cater to homophobes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Stuck in my head, in real life I'm in bed. My belly's being fed and I'm okay. I'm just fine, yet all I do is whine. Not to you in my mind, cause I know I don't make sense. I've been nothing but blessed, so why's my life a mess? Please tell me, cause I'm sick of thinking. Yeah, I'm sick of reaching out for the truth and living life is a fool. Dun, 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 dun.